All right, let's talk about the future. And I mean the real future, beyond the day-to-day noise. Right now, there are these huge forces at play, drawing up the blueprints for the world we're all about to live in. In this explainer, we're going to pull back the curtain on the key innovations that are set to define not just 2025, but the entire next decade. So let's just dive right in. We're going to explore three core blueprints that are shaping everything. First, how AI is evolving from a simple tool into a genuine creative partner. Then, how we're literally re-engineering our planet for survival. And finally, how the very map of innovation is being completely redrawn right before our eyes. Yeah, this is really the big question we're tackling today, right? We're not just looking at the flashy new gadgets. We're going deeper, trying to understand the massive shifts in technology and society that are really setting the stage for everything that's coming next. Okay, first up, artificial intelligence. Look, the big story here isn't just that AI is getting smarter. I mean, we all know that. The real change is its job description. It's shifting from being a passive tool that just looks at the past to an active partner that's helping us invent the future. Just think about that for a minute. We've gone from asking AI, hey, what happened, to asking, okay, what if? And that simple change is just blowing the doors open in fields that have been stuck for years, especially in something as complicated as material science. And this quote from Chad Mirkin at Northwestern, it just nails it. Researchers basically gave an AI a giant chemical sandbox and told it, go invent something new. The whole idea was to discover brand new nanomaterials without spending years and years on trial and error in a lab. And the results? I mean, they were just jaw-dropping. The AI came up with 19 totally new material structures. And when the scientists actually went into the lab to try and make them, 18 of them worked. That's practically a perfect score. This is proof that AI isn't just a super fast calculator anymore. It's a real creative partner in discovery. Okay, but here's where it gets really interesting. This new partnership we're forming with AI, it's having some pretty weird side effects. It's not just changing how we discover stuff, it's changing how we check each other's work. And that brings us to the very foundation of science, peer review. So check this out. Researchers dug into thousands of reviews from some of the top AI conferences and found a massive AI footprint. At these huge events, they figured out that up to, almost 17% of the review text had been heavily shaped by a large language model. And we're not talking about just fixing a typo. We're talking about AI writing significant chunks of scientific feedback. But when you look closer, a really complex picture starts to emerge. The study found these distinct patterns. Turns out, the AI-assisted reviews, they were often handed in at the very last minute. They tended to sound a little more generic. And get this, the reviewers using them often admitted they had lower confidence in their own feedback. So you have this paradox, right? AI is speeding up discovery, but it might also be watering down the very expertise that makes science so strong. You know, this whole theme of tackling massive, complex problems, well, it brings us perfectly to our second blueprint. We're going to shift gears from the digital world to the physical one. We're talking about a monumental effort to re-engineer our entire world for sustainability. And this isn't just about small tweaks. It's about a fundamental rewrite of our chemistry and our engineering. To really get a feel for the scale of this, just look at this chart for a second. You don't need to understand every number. Just look at the size of those bars on the right. They show the incredible, insane amount of energy it takes for direct air capture. That's literally sucking CO2 out of the atmosphere. The cost is huge, which is exactly why we need absolute game changers. And the good news is, that pipeline of solutions, it's really starting to fill up. You've got scientists who've made a catalyst that turns methane into liquid fuel at just above room temperature. That's a huge energy win. You've got researchers in Tasmania making high-quality, biodegradable plastics out of wood waste. And over in India, a new patent just dropped that could finally fix that total mess of different EV charging plugs. These are the foundational fixes we're talking about. And that actually leads us right into our third and final blueprint for tomorrow. The geography of innovation is changing, big time. For decades, we've all looked to the same handful of places for the next big thing, but that map is being totally redrawn, with new centers of gravity popping up all over, especially across the global south. A huge piece of this puzzle is something called digital public infrastructure, or DPI. The easiest way to think about it is like building digital highways and bridges, shared systems for things like ID, payments, and data that anyone can then build new services on top of. It's a whole new playbook for how an economy can grow. And look, This isn't some abstract academic idea. This right here is South Africa's actual official roadmap for building out its own DPI. They're laying out the plans for digital ID, for data sharing, for payments. They're following a model that countries like India pioneered, and they're using it to completely leapfrog old clunky systems and deliver services right to their citizens. And if you want a perfect example of this global shift, just look at India. I mean, the numbers speak for themselves. We're talking about the world's third largest startup scene, a pharmaceutical powerhouse that's pushing $30 billion in exports, a true pioneer in that DPI stuff we just mentioned. And they're not stopping there. They're even pushing to deep space with missions to figure out how to autonomously dock spacecraft. This is an innovation boom on every single front. Okay, so we've got these three huge trends, right? The AI co-pilot, rewiring the planet for sustainability, and this global shift in who's innovating. But the real magic, the thing you really have to watch, is what happens when these blueprints start to overlap. Because here's the thing, these aren't three separate stories at all. They're all part of one single accelerating story. Just imagine, an AI discovers some revolutionary new green material. And then a country on the other side of the world uses its digital infrastructure to get that material into the hands of millions, like overnight. That's the convergence we're talking about. It's a wave of change that's feeding on itself and moving faster and faster. And that really leaves us with the one question that matters most. We can see the designs, the blueprints for tomorrow are being drawn right now, in real time. But as we start to build it, the real challenge for you, for me, for all of us, is to make sure the world we end up with is a world that works for everyone. That's the real project for 2025 and all the years that follow.